Hello and welcome to your Friday night match reaction here on Four Lads Had a Dream. My name's Andrew, and joining me is one of my very favourite potters, Mark, to talk about Rangers' I think fairly comprehensive 5-0 victory over Annan. Mark, we go into this not expecting like it's going to be world beaters. We'll discuss the lineup obviously when we come to it, but thoughts coming into this one? I mean, kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's Annan. We know it should be a straightforward one, but we don't need to look too far back in our recent history to know that what looks like a straightforward match can still trip you up. So, had to be a professional performance tonight.
I think that's exactly what it was. Obviously, there's a number of changes throughout the starting 11. In all fairness to them, we didn't start too well, to be fair, the first 10 minutes. Fair play to Annan. They gave a good goal, but once we got that first goal, we managed to kick on and was a very professional performance.
I think that's exactly right. We'll come on to the lineups in a second, but coming into this match, we knew that this was probably the last competitive one. We know we're going to have the European game midweek on Thursday next week. But realistically, our European campaign's done, and it has been for a couple of matches now. So all we're coming into this one is it's an opportunity, I think, for some of the other squad players to kind of make a case for themselves, to see if they can cement a position or make a claim for staying within the squad. And as we saw just prior to kickoff, there's going to be activity in this transfer window that is potentially going to displace some of them. Skov Olsen finally getting announced after Stevie, the tease that he is, saying it was definitely going to be announced today. He gets announced formally along with Romans and Chucky as well, who went on to play during the game. But I think seeing those three together on the 16th of January, knowing that Rangers are still very much likely to go into the market and continue to strengthen, is a statement of intent. We cannot focus on what other teams around us are doing. All we can do is focus on ourselves, but we look to be strengthening in the key areas for sure. A winger, a left back, a midfielder. Defense is the next thing that I think we would like to look at. But if you'd said at the start of January that halfway through we'd already have these players in place in the building and ready to go, and that they'd be of the quality they are, Skov Olsen especially, who comes with a significant reputation, I think we'd all been quite happy with that, right?
Yeah, I think the first week or so we had slight concerns given there was not much activity, but I think given what we've done, three coming in, obviously Chuckwan is starting tonight. Good to see, coming in tonight, getting half an hour or so, which is good. Get some minutes under his belt. I think for me, Romans and Olsen for me is the standout signing for the January transfer window, given his capabilities, and I think the attacking fit he will bring to our side, not only in terms of creativity but goals as well. And I think that's something that we have been lacking this season. So I think it's a statement signing. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. But I don't think we're done yet. I think there'll still be some moving parts over the next couple of weeks, which will be exciting. But so far, three very good players for me. The fact that Romans, he's 22, he's very energetic, gets up and down the pitch, but not only his attacking presence, but he's actually very good one-on-one defensively as well, which we've not had for quite a long time in that position, which is good to see. And then Olsen, as I've mentioned, I think for me, that is a key signing which will bring some excitement to the team and get fans off their seats. So we've been linked with him before in the past, but it's good to actually see we've got this over the line. And not only from his attacking threat, but I think his goals as well will be pretty critical in the second half of the season.
Yeah, we know that. I mean, we've talked plenty about this squad, right? In the past couple of weeks, as good as the results have been, I think under Danny Roll, we know that this squad doesn't probably have the legs to go all the way. Making the reinforcements that we have done, strengthening in those key areas, I think that's a real statement of intent and shows that we want to compete for this. We've dragged ourselves into a position where suddenly it looks like a title race might actually be on. Obviously, this is only the cup game, but nonetheless, it's still a statement to say, we can put out a second string and still comfortably dispatch a lower tier side 5-0. We can make that look very comfortable for us, which is not something we could say last year, right? This time last year, we were getting knocked out by Queen of the South. So, yeah, we knew that it was it needed to be a professional performance. Certainly, we started off that way. One thing I would say, just before we get into the match itself, there was an excellent away crowd for Annan. I think the entire town showed up for it. 1,100 folk travelling in as the supporting away fans. That was really good to see. I mean, it's the magic of the cup. We know it's going to be a payday for them. That's probably the biggest beneficiary that will get out of it. But certainly really good to see that level of away support. It's higher numbers than we get for some of the Premier League opposition that turn up at Ibrox. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, obviously for them it's a big occasion, playing at Ibrox. How often in their careers are they going to do that in terms of the players? They said for the town itself, obviously they're going to make a deal of it. I think the important thing for us, there's also some players getting in that side tonight who haven't featured much this season. I think though, looking at it, I think there's some boys who time at Ibrox is up. But I think it was good to see Finlay Curtis starting tonight. I thought he was excellent. Miovski obviously got the man of the match, but I thought he was a close second in terms of his performance. He obviously started in the wide areas, and then he also reverted to left back, which not seen him play there. But I thought he was excellent as well. His link up with Matondo was very good. He's a couple of balls in he put in the first half. He obviously had assist with Miovski's second goal. So it's good to see him get some minutes, and I know the fans have obviously been crying out for that. So it's nice to see he got a decent run out, and I thought he was excellent throughout the match. Not only first half, but even when he moved over to left back, I thought he was involved in quite a bit of the play, which was good to see. And then, as I said, there's a couple that have started where I probably have some concerns, and I think it goes back to that, where we add in the transfer window, where defensively, I think the two that started, we had some concerns at times without them really creating, but there's moments, if that's against a better team, we could have had some issues. So if anything is to happen to Suter or Fernandez, and I still think Fernandez has still got a bit of work to do. He's done well throughout, but I think positionally he could still work on that. However, when he's been playing, he's been a threat in terms of his attacking. He's scored some goals in terms of set pieces, but I think there's still work to be done positionally with him, and that's probably another position I would like to add, given the run we've got in the second half of the season. You mentioned earlier about Europa League, that's done. So game on Thursday, we can play about the team, but then come next weekend when we play Dundee, it's full throttle. And as you mentioned, this title challenge is on. So that's probably a position I'd like to add, just seeing the two tonight in terms of Giga and Nsiala. I don't mind Nsiala as much, but I think he needs somebody to sort of hold his hand throughout, and Giga at times, for me, there's concerns there, but the good thing is it's only a loan deal when we've not actually paid anything in terms of big transfer fee, etc. So we're not stuck with that. Big one for me was Finlay Curtis throughout the night, just to get him a run out, and then our main man Kieran Dill scores as well. So when I did see the two of Rothwell and Kieran Dill, I know we're only playing Annan, but that didn't give me any great excitement. But over the piece, they've done all right. But you've got to be mindful of who we're playing as well. So
Sure.
I thought what was telling as well, though, is sort of where we're lacking is Magoma and Gassama both starting when we've changed 9 out of the 11. But then, we don't really have anything to replace these two. So Matondo maybe for Gassama, but again, Matondo's been out so many times where I don't know if he would have been ready to play 90 minutes. But I thought it was pretty telling as well that both Magoma and Gassama both started when we've rested, 9 out of the 11. So
I think, Mark, it's worth running through that 11 just because that absolutely highlights where the weaknesses in the squad are. Right, Kelly obviously in goals, Aaron's, Gigan's, Nsiala, and Magoma. As you say, we only have the one left back, so unless we're playing Fiddly Curtis there, apparently, Giga and Nsiala are our 4th and 5th choice left back centre backs. You could probably debate which of them is the 4th and which of the 5th, but they're certainly the lower rank of our defenders. I'd have Cornelius above the two of them, and then Fernandez and Suter are probably your top two, right? So they're certainly down there. I mean, hell, you could even throw in Sterling as well. So you maybe push those two down even further, right? So they're definitely not your first choice, but they were still a fine defense, albeit against League Two opposition. Dream team midfield of Rothwell and Dowell, and then Danilo playing, I think, in the 10 effectively, with Kasama and Curtis on the flanks and Miovski up top. All of this was an opportunity for some of these guys to stake a place, to show that they could do something in a Rangers jersey. So far, I think it's fair to say that pretty much everyone on that list, certainly, the 9 who came in, maybe the 8, because Kelly, I don't think, has got anything to really defend. He's our cup keeper. He's a perfectly adequate deputy to Jack Butland. But certainly for the outfield players, there's everything to prove there in terms of staking a place and showing that, you can do something in Rangers jersey. Absolutely, certain players did that. I think, ironically enough, Dowell looks like a really good player. Certainly looked better than he had in his previous 13 starts that he'd made for us, which was a stat that boggled the mind, given that he's been here since 2023. But nonetheless, he looked like very comfortable. Whether that's just he found his level or what, I don't know, but certainly looked very good. And Miovski, Curtis, I think are the two standouts there, because both of them had really good games. I think relished the opportunity to get the starts. And Zebedee Lawson, I mean, didn't do anything, but he's got a great name, so I'm always going to talk him up. It's a big fan of his. So, I mean, yeah, that's our lineup. We know that there's certain players who weren't even on the bench as well. People who you'd say were key starters, like Tav, Raskin, Diamande, or Diamande is on the bench, but all of these players who, we would say are starting signings, people who you would have in your starting 11, were not there, given the rest. And I think the heartening thing for me, Mark, was the fact that we had that as the lineup. It's absolutely the second string Rangers, as the title of the pod says. But nonetheless, we were still able to put in that kind of professional, comfortable performance, because we weren't really ever threatened by Annan. We managed to get the goal early. We got the second at a good time. We got the third at a very good time, just immediately after the half. And certainly at no point did we look particularly, worried or concerned that we'd go through that game and win it. It was, as we said at the start, just a very professional performance.
I think it takes me back to sort of the Walter Smith days when we would play lower league teams, pretty comfortable. 1 or 2 up at half time, then second half as these teams part time, obviously, will start to tire, and then obviously the gaps be there, and we can obviously exploit that. I think it was just nice to see that it was pretty relaxed. And as I mentioned, fair play to Annan, the first 10 minutes they came at it without really doing much, but they gave it a go. And then once we also get that goal, it starts to open up, and then we're able to break through them. I think throughout that, though, in terms of, you mentioned that starting 11, Lawson came off the bench, but for me, I think throughout, the one disappointment tonight who I was hoping would do a bit better was Danilo. I thought he was very poor. He gave the ball away a lot of times, doesn't look sharp. And as I mentioned, we're talking about in terms of transfers again, but for me, I think if we're going to move anyone on, would be him to get another striker, and I think that would be a positive for me in terms of his pulling area. I know Chermini's been doing relatively well. Miovski's also scored tonight, but I think it's pulling another area. I don't think we'd go with more than 3 up top in terms of the way Danilo plays. So I think for me, it'd be wanting to move on. Danilo would be wanting to move on. Difficulty in that, though, is who's willing to pay a fee for Danilo come this window. I'm not sure if they will, but if we are to do any business on that front, it would be Danilo would be out, and also we'll see who can bring in over the next 2 weeks in the January transfer window. But I just really I thought he was really disappointing. I thought he was poor. Just his distribution on the ball, gave it away a number of times, and he just doesn't look his sell now. And for me, I think his time at Rangers is up, and that's against a League Two side where he just didn't show anything whatsoever. I know you'd mentioned Dell and stuff, but I would expect his boys to be at the level they've been to dominate, and they did, in all fairness. And I think it was that getting our foot on the ball, playing some good play. Our second goal in particular, some of the passing and the movement was very good. But I'd expect a number of these guys to be playing, given the level we've been playing against tonight, obviously excelling, and obviously they have. But just Danilo for me was the one where I was pretty disappointed on generally how he played throughout, and I was surprised he actually lasted 70 minutes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? We know that it's a certain level of opposition. It's League Two. But again, some players have used that as an opportunity to show off what they've done. One of the guys in the comments, Bluebells are Blue, has said, that fellow goes in against any opposition. And that's right. It's not down to, I'm playing against a League Two side and therefore my free kick looked really fucking good. My free kick was really fucking good and, goes in regardless. So Danilo's had the opportunity there. Miovski's had the same opportunity as well. It's League Two opposition. But if you can go ahead and get yourself a hat-trick, not to mention your first professional hat-trick in senior football, you've gone on and made that claim. Finlay Curtis in the first half was, I think, unlucky to get a goal and already picked up at least an assist, if not 2 assists. I can't remember exactly where he was for the second goal. But he was contributing. He was making things happen. Gassama, in terms of our attacking players, also has got the power of running, was making things happen. Danilo didn't contribute a massive amount, had a shot which was pretty wild that didn't go anywhere, I think in like the 55th minute or so, and never really looked like he was going to add anything. And I'm kind of in agreement with you, Mark, that I don't think there's a lot there. You've been given this opportunity, you haven't taken it, and that's always going to be frustrating for a manager who wants to. I think that what I would say about Danny Roll is he has given players opportunities, and he's got a lot out of players who we didn't think had a lot to get out of them. He's managed to squeeze blood from the proverbial stone, he's managed to get performances out of some players who we didn't think had any kind of business being at Rangers, let alone turning into decent ones. So it's frustrating because Danilo, I think, is a player who looked like he had promise at the start, but I would agree that he was probably the most disappointing aspect of that first half. Second half, we're cruising at 2-0 up after the 2 goals from Miovski, and going close with the attempt from Finlay Curtis on the 38th minute as well. But into the second half, 2 minutes in, Gassama and Rothwell work a decent corner, swings that in. Dowell gets on the end of it to make it 3-0. Game over at that point, as far as I'm concerned. 2-0. There's still a risk. You could feel like there's just a goal and the other team gets into it. You make it 3-0, and for me, that was the game as good as over. And I think we start to see that with the changes that started ringing out in the minutes to follow.
In all fairness, and again, Scott Fry contributing to the team in terms of an set piece. It was one of these where in the first half we had a few and they just weren't coming off, so I thought it was going to be a disappointing night for him. But in all fairness, it was similar to, I don't know if it was Fernandez's goal against Motherwell. Ball comes in, it's similar like that. It's a good header from Dill, to be fair, and just a build up to it, a good ball in from Rothwell, in all fairness. So, and if anything, they might get a lifeline, but in all fairness, I think given the efforts that they put in the first half, you could see they were tiring pretty quickly. Once that third goes in, game's over. But for me, I think at halftime we were pretty much there. But the last thing you want to do is give them any hope. In all fairness, I think we were pretty safe tonight in terms of defensively. Just a couple of moments for Giga and Sella for me, it gave me concerns if it was against a better team. But in all fairness to them, I don't think Kelly had a save to make, to be honest. But the positive thing was, boys that had came in tonight getting a chance and also doing well. And then obviously Danilo, as we mentioned, was one that, and I don't think it's only tonight. That's the thing for me with Danilo. It'd be, players can have an off night playing lower league opposition. Motivation isn't there, and that's not an excuse because you're turning up to every game. But we've seen this for a number of games now since Danilo's came back, and it's just not paying off. So for me, I think this was, if you're going to grab and try and show any intent, tonight was your moment to do it, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't working for him. But no, an excellent goal from Dow, in all fairness, and good build up, and good to see Scott Fry having his moment again and adding another goal for Rangers with a decent set of play coming into play.
I mean, we've talked about this before, right? It's all about just maximising the opportunities. A set piece is an opportunity to get a goal. If you can convert those more regularly, then yeah, you'd be foolish not to take them. So just making sure that we can get as much as we can out of every opportunity within the game is always going to be a good thing. As I said, once we've made that 3-0, the game's done at that point. As you say, Annan didn't really have much of an opportunity to get back into the game. But I think credit to Rangers in that we didn't take our foot off the gas. We kept at it. We kept performing, even with the changes that came. 55th minute, Matondo and Zebedee Lawson, who I'm always going to give his full name, or just first name, because I love his first name. They came on for Gassama and Mikoma. That necessitated Finley Curtis going to left back and then Zebedee going into the right wing position. Matondo just swapping straight out for Gassama. The one thing I did notice about Matondo, and it's the same thing that I will always say, and Andrew Stewart, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, he's really good at running. Occasionally he does it with the ball as well, and he'll draw fouls. I don't think he's particularly great at anything else. But the important thing was he can run and he can draw fouls. He did that a few times in the first few minutes that he was on. And then finally, at the 72nd minute, he draws a foul inside the box. And that gives Miovski the opportunity to convert for the third of his goals, making it 4-0, scoring his first ever senior hat-trick, which I think capped off a really good performance for Miovski, because we've talked in the previous pods about how he's not been the same level of player that we thought we would be getting. Certainly the player that we saw against us when he was playing for Aberdeen. But that was the kind of performance that I wanted to see. Just quite professional, not getting overexcited and just calmly getting the ball in the back of the net. That's where it counts if you're a striker.
Yeah, I think back to Matondo, I think the frustrating thing with Matondo is you that burst of pace, and you can go by a player. I think the frustrating thing for me is he's very inconsistent with it, and his decision making at times can be appalling. Again, another one I think's time at Rangers. And sorry, Andrew, I know he's a massive fan of Rabi, but for me, I think it's another one whose time is up at Ibrox. He's been injured. You think of his wage, I think it's about 28k a week or something he's on. Significant amount for a club like ours. Well, it used to be, not so much now when we're going to be spending the money we are on Olsen, but in all fairness, 28k is a lot of money throughout the years, and in all honesty, what we had in return for that, not a great deal. He's had a couple of moments against Celtic, etc., but it doesn't do enough for me. Obviously, with the penalty, it's that explosive couple of yards, and obviously too quick for the defender, and it's a clear penalty. And in all fairness to Miovski, you're right, gets his hat trick. I think in Miovski's defence, so I think it's just the way we've been playing as well hasn't helped him throughout. I think when the ball's in the box and he's got an opportunity, you just need to look at his first two goals tonight. He is a goal scorer. So I don't think we've helped him as well. He's not helped himself as well in terms of runs, etc. But if the ball's in that box, Miovski would be the striker I'd want in there, given he can finish. And his goals were pretty telling tonight in terms of the first two in particular. And then, as you said, to finish it off with a penalty, also him and Asgard were fighting over it. It was good to see that Miovski got it and got that third. And I think he deserved it. And he's all-round play. He's done all right. But I think if we're getting the balls in the box, we're giving him a chance. And in all fairness, he is lethal in front of goal. But I think we haven't helped him since he's joined. And in all fairness, I mentioned in a previous podcast, he hadn't really played in a year when he came to us. We put him in, and then we were obviously expecting it. And I get why, but it's like anything. When you've not been into that rhythm, into games, and then coming in, thrown in the deep end, and we were going through a time where we were obviously struggling. It really wasn't paying off. But in all fairness to him, he's got his hat-trick tonight. Hopefully this will obviously help him going into the second half of the season. Because like the likes of Chermiti and Miovski, we're going to need them big time, especially in this run we've got coming up.
100%. I would much rather have a headache over which one of my strikers to pick, because I think both of them can do a job for me, than go which is the least bad option, which has felt like it's been the decision at times earlier this season. But I think you're right in terms of what the situation is that Miovski's been coming into as well. It's not a well-run football team that he's entered. and it's not been a happy situation that he's come into either. If you're coming in and immediately everyone just turns to you and goes, right, you're the one who I'm expecting to make things happen, unless you're the absolute best player in the world, you are going to struggle to do that. And even that's in really good teams as well. And we were in absolute shambles when he came in. So he's taken his time. He felt his way into it, but certainly tonight looked every inch the player that I thought we were going to get when we signed him. So I was pleased to see that. We continue on. We had made a few other substitutions just prior to that. Dowell and Rothwell and Danilo all coming off for Asgard. Chukwueze making his debut and Mikey Moore coming on for Danilo. I think, again, that's just rotating in some quality, some more experienced players who have played. Chukwueze just, giving him a taste of Ibrox, a good half an hour just to see what it's like and getting some game time on the grass. But again, it's just about, like I said earlier, that relentlessness, that making sure we don't take the foot off the gas and ensuring that we keep on going and we keep working towards the win. And that paid off. Again, we get a free kick after, I think, as you said in the chat, suddenly, it was Calvin who said certain players revealing where their allegiances lie in terms of their own fans, making themselves known. Free kick after a challenge on Moore. Asgard steps up. I wasn't expecting a lot from this, but it's an absolute peach mark. It's a beautiful free kick. Up, down, over the wall, and it slots in to make it 5-0. Keeper had no chance. I mean, it's past Annan's keeper, but as Focus said earlier in the chat, that goes past any keeper. Fantastic free kick. 5-0. If the game wasn't over by then, it was definitely by that point. That's your lot. But Thello Asgard, I didn't know he had that in his locker, and maybe we should be just getting the ball off of Tav more often if he's got that one in his back pocket.
Sensational goal, to be fair. The best of the night. And going forward, I'd be happy for him to take set pieces if that's what he's going to deliver. Absolutely brilliant goal, in all fairness. He's about 30 yards or so out. It doesn't matter who we're playing, no goalie saving that. So it was good to see, and I'm hoping for him. I thought the Aberdeen game at the weekend, I thought he was excellent, and I'm hoping now that sort of him can kick on. And I can't remember, somebody put in the chat as well about a rejuvenation. I think they're right. I'm hoping he can be one that can kick on the second half of the season, given he's got physical presence and he's got ability. There's no doubt about that. It's just the inconsistency that we've seen in the first half of the season throughout, and hopefully it's going to go like that tonight can make him kick on. But I think the positive thing for me is, especially at the weekend, I thought he was excellent, just playing that role, and hopefully moving forward he can kick on for us. But the goal itself, just absolute world class. If that's in the Premier League, they'd be talking about it left, right, and centre. So sensational and good to see.
100%. As we say, game's done. It's been done since the 3-0, but was definitely done at that point. And the ref agreed because he blew the whistle at 90 minutes. Didn't exactly feel like giving us any extra time on that one for some reason. All in all, as we said at the top, Mark, comfortable, professional performance, I think, as we said. And obviously, I don't think we could take massive amounts from it. We're certainly not going to go on and say that should be our starting 11 next week on Thursday. For one, I don't think half of those players are even in the European squad. But nonetheless, it's a good opportunity to see, as we've said, some members of this squad have got something to offer. Some of them maybe have proved that they don't as well, but there's definitely some options to be had there, and gives an excellent opportunity to let some of them try and stake their places as well.
No, absolutely. And I think come Thursday, I think for me, given where we are in the Europa League, I wouldn't be going all out in terms of starting 11. I think there's pride and obviously money still to be made in the competition, but I think we've got to be mindful of what's at stake here in terms of the second half of the season. So I think Danny will be mindful of that going into Thursday, given the game is only 72 hours against Dundee. So that will be obviously top priority. In terms of the team that played tonight, I think there's a couple in there. As I say, the standout for me was Finlay Curtis, and obviously he can make a push, but I think there is also telling though if there's a couple of boys just the time at Rangers is done. So I think we've got to be honest here and thank them for their efforts. But if we can move them on in January, great. If not, then I don't see them having any major impact come the run in for the second half of the season. But there's a couple of boys that done well. But all in all, I think though our starting 11 plus the new signings, we've got a decent group. But I still feel a couple of additions would give me more confidence with the games coming up. And as I said, we've still got 2 weeks or so this window left, and I still don't think we're finished. I still believe that there will be still some business taking place, ins and outs, to be fair. But for me, it's good to see that we've had a professional performance tonight, no scares, and hopefully come out with no injuries. In terms of hopefully there's no injuries on any players that are going to have an impact for the next run of games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking at that, I don't think we saw any particular bad knocks or anyone taking any particularly hard challenges. Mikey Moore's sort of slight tackle concussion aside, setting up the free kick. But yeah, I completely agree as well that I don't think we're done at all. We're only halfway through this window. I think there's still time to go. I'd be surprised if we don't see probably one or two more in. And as Danny Rowell himself has said, if we see the right opportunity, we're going to go for it. Andrew Kavanagh hasn't gone anywhere. He's not gone back to the States. Not to get overly political, but in his shoes, I'm not sure I want to go back to the States right now either. It makes it. He wants to be involved. I think he sees the opportunity here. We did not think we were going to be in a title race. Certainly, as other podders on the network have said, we didn't think we would have this opportunity to grab this Champions League pot of gold, which, let's remember, is not going to be available for a few seasons after this as well, just because of where the coefficient sits. So there's opportunities there. There's money to be made. It does make sense to try and push for it and get yourself in line to get that pot of gold. It's there to be won.
I think that's it. In all fairness, seeing tonight, Danny Rowell's got 35 out of 42 points in this league since he came here. Like, he has brought us back in this. If you went back to October, we would never have believed we'd be in this situation. And I think it's one now that, given was at stake, given the we can go automatically in the Champions League. I've seen on X in terms of the earnings that could be made up to 35 million for us, which I don't know if that's minimum earnings, but it's a ridiculous amount of money that we could be what's at stake here. So I think Andrew Kavanagh has looked at this and says, look, there's an opportunity to be had here, and in all fairness to him, we've made 3 decent signings. I think very, very good signings, and as I said, I think there's still business to be done, but it's all been done what's happened since Danny Rose came in the building, working with that team. And we had we're sitting 8th place at the time when he came in, and gradually, and it's not been pretty, not by any stretch of imagination. However, we have found ways to win, and for me, I think credit goes to him and the players on that. Just given that we were never, we thought it'd been crazy if we were going to be in a title race come January when he first stepped in the building. So hats off to him. And he's got us there, and I think he deserves that opportunity to add to this squad who he believes will fit his system. And I think, I know it's only against Annan tonight, but I think you could see the passages play. If we can get the players in and add that quality, you could see a different Rangers team to what we've seen in prior weeks in terms of, just grinding out results, scoring from set pieces, etc. I think you can see that free-flowing football, that direct in terms of 1-2, and we're up the pitch, not so much a long ball, but just in terms of that 1 and 2 touches, and then we're further up the pitch instead of this 20 passes across our 18-yard box and not getting anywhere. So it's definitely positivity there. But for me, I think Andrew Kavanagh's doing the right thing, given what is at stake at the end of the season. And to your point, in terms of where we'll go moving forward with the coefficient, it's going to be a long time before we have an opportunity like this again. So I don't blame him going all out on this, but that's all down to the work that Danny Rowell, in particular, and the squad that's done over the last couple of months. Sensational work, given where we were 3 months ago.
Mark, if you'd said to me when we were sitting in 8th place with Russell Martin having just left as our manager that we'd be even thinking about the Champions League, I'd have asked for some of what you were smoking. I would have been thinking we'd be fortunate to finish in the top 6, let alone be in the title race, you know? That's how bad we looked under Russell Martin. To be in the position we are in now is silly, quite frankly. Credit to Danny Roll. I don't think you can discount that the teams that we are competing with have had their own travails as well. But all we can do is focus on ourselves. As you say, picking up those 35 points when I don't think anyone would have expected us to do so has been magnificent. And I think Danny Roll's been working small miracles to get what he has out of this squad. If he adds to it, if he gets reinforcements, if he gets more strength into that squad, and he continues to show that he can overperform, I think is what we would say that he has done with this squad. I don't know where the limit is, but I'm excited to find out. And yeah, I mean, there's something about Rangers scoring 5 goals in a game that always just makes you feel happy anyway. So yeah, just in a happy mood. Not to end on a complete downer, we have confirmation that Lyle Cameron is out on loan to Aberdeen until the end of the season. Mark, brief thoughts about this? I mean, I think it was clear that he, that for whatever reason, Danny Roll doesn't fancy him right now. I don't know if it's a question of not right now, one for the future, or not at all, and just doesn't see it for him. But nonetheless, I think in either circumstance, it can be good for Lyle Cameron to be out and hopefully get some game time. Whether he wants to go to Aberdeen or not, that's another question. But we don't have to play them for a while, so I'm prepared to be, not nice to them, but at least dismissive of them in a gentle way.
The gentleman that you are. I think it's. I can understand why we've done it. I think for me that the important thing for Lyle Cameron is getting minutes under his belt. Since Danny Rose came in, it's just been non-existent, and for whatever the reasons are, we will never know. If it's just how he's been performing in training, if he's had niggles, whatever. But I think the important thing for Lyle Cameron is to get minutes under his belt and get a decent run, and then come the summer, if he's had a good 6 months at Aberdeen, comes back, and then he's also then challenging for that spot when he comes back. I think for us it could be a win-win where if he does have a good 6 months and he's also then competing to get back in the team, if we obviously add more reinforcements, say we obviously have a good second half of the season and obviously then add in better quality, then we get some decent value for him as well. You probably see championship clubs in England probably looking at him. But I think for me it's important for him, given if he's sending that out the squad and rotting away, it doesn't benefit him and it doesn't benefit the club. So I think it's the right decision, given he hasn't had much game time for a number of months now. And even when there's been points where we have been down to the bare bones, he still hasn't been getting a look in. So yeah, there's clearly something there that Danny Roll's not seeing, but I'm not doubting Danny Roll's judgment given what he's done since he's been in the building. However, I think that this 6 months for Lyle Cameron is important, and it's either going to, give him a kick start once he comes back in the summer if he has a good 6 months up at Aberdeen. But obviously, for us, if it works well, then we've got a better player coming back in the summer instead of someone just sitting in the stands and not doing anything. So I see it as a plus. I still think he could have added something, but in the short time that we've seen him play, but. Look, for me, it's one that Danny Rose made that judgment, and I'm in no place to doubt it. But I think all in all, it's the right thing for Lyle Cameron, but most importantly, the club.
I think you'd say as well, Danny Roll's earned the right to make that call. He's shown a decent amount of judgment so far, and he's managed to overperform with a squad of players. So I think he's earned the right to do that. The one thing I would say as well is that we know that there will be more changes to this squad. If not in this window, then certainly over the summer. Certainly our 2 starting midfielders today, I would strongly suspect that not necessarily in January, but maybe after this summer, that they wouldn't be here. So there's going to be opportunities there. There's going to be chances to stake a claim. This is not the only point at which he can push to get himself into the Rangers starting lineup. January may be a time too soon, but summer's just around the corner, fam. If you're a professional footballer, that's going to come around very quickly, and there's going to be opportunities there. So you never can tell. But we're not in the building, Mark. We don't know what's going on. So all we can do is make wild assumptions and guesses, because that's what we do on the podcast. It's just what we're here for. All in all, mate, a professional performance, 5-0 win, happy days. Rangers signing big name players as well, players who are legends on Football Manager. What more could you want, right? It's perfect Friday night.
It's been a good January, to be fair. You know what I mean? Undefeated, and then we're signing players, and I think that's an important thing. I think fans, you know, we're also a little bit restless at the start, but we're now starting to see some traction there. And in all fairness, you know, we've had, you know, a good start to the league campaign, and also getting through the next round of the Scottish Cup. For me, that was to be expected, but it was just a matter of how we've done it tonight, which was good to see. And also, as we mentioned, guys who have not been featured recently. But I think the likes of, I think Daniel was smart with this tonight in terms of some of the boys that started, you know, you would not have expected, but just putting them in the window, you know, just getting them out there in a short window to see if there's going to be any interest. I think Rothwell will be one potentially that could go, just given there's been a lot of noise about him. We've obviously heard with Dill, the likes of Hull, etc., Championship clubs looking at him, so he could be another. But I think one out of the two probably will go. I think just given the wages as well, and I don't see them feature much in this second half. So I genuinely think one out of the two will go, if not both. But it depends on what comes in terms of offers. But I'd probably likely see Rothwell probably go, just given. I think Rothwell will more likely to go, just given I think he'll want game time and not spend, you know, the rest of the season on the bench or in the stands. So I think it would be more likely he would be the one who would go, just given I think he'll want the game time. That's how I see it.
No, I think that's completely fair. Like, it's Annan, but nonetheless, we come through it very professionally. We get the win. 5 goals as well. I mean, you can't be sniffed at. Not long ago, we were losing these games 1-0 to Queen's Park. So happily take that. Happily take that every time. A highly enjoyable Friday, and now we can just watch the rest of the teams. Be funny if one of them slipped up. Funny if a few of them slipped up. It's no guarantee of our success, but it's still going to be funny if it happens. So we watch that with eager eyes. We know that the draw will be on Sunday. The folks who are on the Sunday show will be back finally after what's felt like a month-long holiday for these guys. Shocking lack of work ethic. Genuinely disgraceful to see. Rob, Cheryl, Scott, all the guys. Just ridiculous. Nonetheless, they will be back this Sunday, talking about all things. I'm sure reacting to the Scottish Cup draw and whoever the hot and cold balls pull out to land us with for the next round of the Scottish Cup. So we look forward to that. Mark, it has been a pleasure to be joined by you tonight. Always a pleasure when we're talking about a Rangers win, mate. So thank you very much for coming on with me, man.
No, I appreciate you having me, and I can't believe you forgot about Dougie for the Sunday show.
Who wants to talk about Dougie?
He'll be on that chat hammering you.
I know. He'll be there. He'll be there after me.
No.
Could you say it was deliberate? Definitely not. I wouldn't do that to Dougie. Not someone I've bought a pint for in actual London. I wouldn't do that to Dougie.
That's all good.
So, yeah.
No, but no, thanks for having me. And I think obviously for me, I think there'll be plenty of shows over the coming weeks with plenty of transfer dealings, and with Rangers, it's never dull. So let's see what comes our way over the coming days and weeks. So no, thank you for the night, and well done Rangers for their 5-star performance. I had to get that in there. Sorry, mate. Sorry, cringe.
I love to see it.
Comments if you hammer me. Honestly, I do not blame the viewers if you hammer me for it.
Perfect. Right, folks, it has been a pleasure to be joined by you. I can't believe we talked for 45 minutes about a 5-0 win, but I'm always happy that we get to do so. My thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, CSD Air Conditioning, Amaret over at Candies, local dark shop online, and our partners, Black Rooster and Art of Gold. I just did that off the top of my head. I didn't even look at the sponsors anymore, man. That's just how good I am. As ever, a pleasure. 3,000 of you watching over Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. We highly appreciate all the support that you're showing us. Over 12,000 subscribers, over 700 members on the YouTube channel as well. Can't thank you guys enough. We will be back on Sunday. If you've not checked it out yet, check out the vlog that Stevie and Chris, making his gantry debut, did. I've not seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing how even Chris might somehow be positive about a Rangers game. So that's going to be wonderful to see. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, until we talk to you again, goodbye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.